Okay, so today we're going deep on a story that most people know, at least a little bit.
Right.
But it's the kind of story that I think has a lot more going on under the surface.
Yeah.
It's the flight to Egypt.
Right out of Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew chapter 2,
Yeah. Oh,
verses 13 to 18.
you got it.
And we're going to be looking at the history of this story,
Mm-hmm.
the theology,
Yeah.
and then what it might mean for us today.
Yeah. This story really brings together like history and faith and just like raw human emotion.
Right.
You've got this story of God intervening. You've
Right.
got this desperate escape.
Yeah.
And you've got this like very real threat of violence against completely innocent people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's powerful stuff.
So let's set the stage here.
Yeah.
We're in Bethlehem just after Jesus is born.
Right.
And we've got King Herod, the ruler of Judea at the time.
Yep.
And he's hearing all this stuff about this new king of the Jews.
Right.
But that wasn't just some like earthly political title.
No.
You know,
Way bigger.
it carried these like huge messianic expectations.
Yeah, people believed this baby was the chosen one.
Right.
The one who was going to save Israel,
Right.
like the Messiah.
Yeah. And Herod was not exactly known for being like chill and laid back.
No, not at all.
Historically, this guy was paranoid and brutal.
Absolutely. And he was known for getting rid of anyone who he saw as like a threat.
Right. Like
Yeah.
if you even looked at him funny, he'd probably have you killed.
Pretty much.
So this is where things get really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
An angel appears to Joseph in a dream
Right.
and tells him about Herod's plan to kill Jesus
Yeah.
and tells him to take Mary and Jesus and flee to Egypt.
What a dream to wake up from, right?
I know, right? Like you wake up and suddenly you're being told to run for your lives.
And with a newborn baby, too.
Yeah, like can you imagine being in Joseph's shoes at that moment?
I mean, it must have been terrifying.
Right.
But at the same time, he must have had incredible faith.
Right, like to trust that this dream was real
Yeah.
and that he needed to act immediately. And the Bible doesn't go into much detail about the actual journey to Egypt.
No, it just focuses on like the urgency and the danger.
Yeah.
They had to leave everything behind their home, their community,
Right.
and head into this completely foreign land
With a baby.
with a baby.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that lack of detail makes it even more powerful.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we're left to imagine just how scary and uncertain that whole journey must have been.
It really makes you think about the challenges that refugees face.
Yeah, throughout history and even today.
It's a story that still resonates so strongly.
Okay, so while Joseph, Mary, and Jesus are on their way to Egypt,
Yeah.
Herod's back in Bethlehem,
Yeah,
and he's furious that he's been outwitted.
totally.
So he does something truly horrific.
He orders the killing of all the male infants in the town.
Yeah, it's called the Massacre of the Innocents.
It's just this awful tragedy.
It really is. And it adds this whole other layer to this story.
Absolutely.
Like it shows that from the very beginning, Jesus was facing persecution and violence.
Right, and it kind of foreshadows the suffering he'll endure later in his life.
Yeah, it's like setting the stage for his entire mission.
And it also connects him to another major figure in the Bible,
Who's that?
Moses.
Oh, yeah.
They were both saved from these like crazy rulers who wanted to kill them,
Right.
and they both fled to Egypt for safety.
Wow. I never really thought about it like that before.
Yeah, it's a pretty striking parallel.
It is. So what does that parallel tell us?
Well, it sets Jesus up as a liberator.
Okay.
Like Moses, who freed the Israelites from slavery in Egypt,
Right.
Jesus is going to free his people from a different kind of slavery,
Okay, what kind?
sin and spiritual death.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah, it's kind of the foundation for understanding Jesus's whole mission.
Okay, so we've got this crazy story with history and theology and drama and like powerful emotion.
And it all happened over 2,000 years ago.
Right. So like what does it all mean for us today?
What do we take away from this ancient story?
Yeah, good question.
Well, I think one of the big takeaways is that God often works in unexpected ways.
Okay.
Like that sometimes the path to safety and deliverance is through hardship and uncertainty.
Like the flight to Egypt.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's also a reminder that even Jesus, who we see as the Son of God,
Right.
was once a vulnerable child forced to flee his home.
Yeah, that's a powerful image.
It is, and it connects us to the experiences of refugees and displaced people throughout history.
And even today.
Absolutely.
So like what does that mean for how we treat refugees today?
Right. Like, how do we respond to those who are fleeing violence and seeking refuge?
Yeah.
Do we offer them welcome and support?
Are we compassionate and empathetic?
Exactly.
Wow, you've given me a lot to think about.
I think the story has a lot to say to us if we're willing to listen.
It really does.
Okay.
So as we finish up this deep dive into the flight to Egypt, I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What does it mean to you that Jesus was once a refugee?
Yeah. Think about that.
And how can we carry the lessons of this story into the world today?
It's something worth pondering.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Ha!